You're the reason that we got to increase costs on these folks.
Private equity firms aren't generally involved in the manufacturing.
I'm just telling you, this is overgeneral because it's only 11% of your business. You're saying right now that's not the reason that manufactured homes are rising costs. You're saying it's ESG.
I'm saying it's a contributor, and it is binding.
It's a contributor?
It is.
When did ESG come up in the manufactured homes industry? When?
ESG is a framework. It's the mandates.
When did it come about? When did they start talking about 2019? 18?
We're facing these DOE.
When did they start talking about ESG in your industry?
But most disturbingly, in this House, the House that freed men from the scourge that is slavery and gave women suffrage, we have a member that not only supports this organization, Hamas, that slaughtered these Jews, but has actively called for the eradication of the Jews as a people by promoting the slogan, "From the river to the sea," on social media.
I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable. We are human beings, just like anyone else. My city, my grandmother, like all Palestinians, just wants to live her life with freedom and human dignity we all deserve. 71% of Michigan Democrats support a ceasefire. So you can try to censure me, but you can't silence their voices. I urge my colleagues to join with the majority of Americans and support a ceasefire now to save as many lives as possible. President Biden must listen to and represent all of us, not just some of us. I urge the president to have the courage to call for a ceasefire and the end of killings.
And many of my colleagues continue to actually benefit through political contributions from some of the same folks that continue to push those drugs onto our families. Even as my colleagues focus so much on some of the border and immigration policies, I know within our own country, we just have not done enough to push back and understanding or push back on this rhetoric that we don't have a substance abuse issue and problem in our country.
Lady from Michigan is recognized for 5 minutes.
I'm
Four
the
and a
only,
half minutes, sorry.
It's okay. I'm the only Palestinian American serving in Congress, Mr. Chair, and my perspective is needed here now more than ever. I will not be silenced, and I will not let you distort my words. Folks forget I'm from the city of Detroit, the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, where I learned to speak truth to power even if my voice shakes. Trying to bully or censor me won't work, because this movement for a ceasefire is much bigger than one person. It's growing every single day. There are millions of people across our country who oppose Netanyahu's extremism and are done watching our government support collective punishment and the use of white phosphorus bombs that melt flesh to the bone. They are done watching our government, Mr. Chair, supporting cutting off food, water, electricity, and medical care to millions of people with nowhere to go. Like me, Mr. Chair, they don't believe the answer to war crimes is more war crimes. The refusal of Congress and the administration to acknowledge Palestinian lives is chipping away at my soul. Over 10,000 Palestinians have been killed. Majority were children. But let me be clear. My criticism has always been of the Israeli government and Netanyahu's actions. It is important to separate people and governments, Mr. Chair. No government is beyond criticism. The idea that criticizing the government of Israel is anti-Semitic sets a very dangerous precedent, and it's being used to silence diverse voices speaking up for human rights across our nation. Do you realize what it's like, Mr. Chair, for the people outside the chamber right now, listening in agony to their own government dehumanizing them? To hear the President of the United States we helped elect dispute death tolls as we see video after video of dead children and parents under rubble? Mr. Chair, do you know what it's like to fear rising hate crimes, to know how Islamophobia and anti-Semitism makes us all less safe, and worry that your own child might suffer the horrors that 6-year-old Wadia did in Illinois? Speaking up to save lives, Mr. Chair, no matter faith, no matter ethnicity, should not be controversial in this chamber. The cries of the Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinians sound different to you all.
I know addiction is a critical issue. Even as my colleagues focus so much on some of the border and immigration policies, I know within our own country, we just have not done enough to push back and understanding or push back on this rhetoric that we don't have a substance abuse issue and problem in our country, especially with even some, legal pharmaceutical companies pushing, the opioid, contributing to the opioid crisis right here at home. And many of my colleagues continue to actually benefit through political contributions from some of the same folks that continue to push those drugs onto our families. Seeing some of the information coming out, I think the past decade, over 2,000 of my fellow Detroiters lost their lives to this corporate, many corporate funded pushed, addiction on them. Of them, 364 were overdose deaths in 2019. 86% of those deaths were involved opioid.
Thank you so much, Chairman. This is, I think, our third hearing on this. It's bizarre to me because, one of the things that I've been really appreciative of previous administrations and others been talking about, movement around, weatherization and, even manufactured homes doing the kind of upfront, and it does cost money up front, but it leads to reducing, reliance, high, utility bills, energy efficiency leads to actually lower bills for many of the families and they can't afford it. So it's not all going, right out the window when we don't have some of those investments at the front end. So it's really bizarre for me, and we continue to hear this as, oh, the whole housing crisis is because of this. I'm taken aback because we all know it existed before even the ESG even was invented or created. And so, I know in my district, for instance, the tax foreclosure crisis was just unbelievable. We had one of the worst tax foreclosure crises in the country. These are families that actually own their homes, but they could not pay for their property taxes. ESG had nothing to do with it, nothing. Actually, probably if it did, maybe there would have been some sort of best practices or policies implemented. Understand this is the bizarre thing. I've never even heard of ESG until now. Like I'm really curious because to me, my families, they've seen the rising cost of housing, not because of ESG. It's because of all the other issues I wish we would be more targeted around talking about. Because majority of the homes in my district are less than $100,000, but we can't get some of these banks to actually loan because it's not profitable. So somebody that wants to buy a $60,000, $70,000 home in Wayne County, Michigan, can't find somebody to lend it to them because it's not profitable. So what do they, literally everybody else is swallowing up these homes because 60, 70 investor firms come together, they buy a bunch of them, they turn them into rental properties. Where literally I have a block and like 2 people own their homes, the rest of them are literally renters. And they're paying way more, much more than what they would have paid if they had gotten a mortgage from some sort of banking industry. I say this, and I really don't want you all to see, I'm not disrespecting you all, but please don't make this about ESG. You're actually failing your members and your industry and literally your sector by focusing on ESG and not the root causes of why the cost of housing is going up in our country.